Herb% second annual tournament. We have an exciting match today. My name is the Benjinator, and I am accompanied by Queen Anne Boleyn.
Good morning, everybody.
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon for all of us all over the world. So today we have a exciting match between. This was originally supposed to be a four-person final. We only had, due to some technical issues, and also not just with our players, but also with we originally had a French commentary stream, which Queen here was part of yesterday. But due to some technical issues, we had two players, Name Faker and Kugelschnaps, that were not able to, unfortunately, be part of today's match. But what we do have is an exciting match between Hulk, who's a pretty famous SNES speed gamer, has a lot of games under his, and last year's winner. And also last year's silver second place winner, LostC0re, also known as Silver Star, who was part of this last year. So this is kind of a rematch, so to speak, between these two players. Hulk from France, and we have LostC0re from Florida. So it's going to be a good time.
Yep, and maybe we should talk about yesterday's competition. There was 3 brackets. Bracket A, B, and C. So we had quite difficulty also yesterday. We lost the Benjinator, who is my co-hosting today, because he had the technical issues.
I was part of a very promising, very promising seed. I was there for about 3 minutes, and then my controller disconnected from SNEX 9X, and it didn't like that. So that was the entire tenure of my race in that one. So.
And then on first bracket, we had technical issue with our Ulster, so it was quite a nightmare yesterday. And we had an exciting race. We had, for the first time in a long while, a pedestal seed. Thank you, Neta, for this. He gave it to the losers bracket.
Yeah.
We had the worst time in qualification, and it ended up with us.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Queen here was part of that race. Yeah.
It was hard. It was a hard seat, but we had fun. We saw some beautiful thing. I PB'd by 40 minutes, and SolarCell also PB'd by I think 10 minutes. So it was a close race with Le Hulk. They finished within 15 minutes of each other, and the first bracket also, the first race, they finished quite close to each other. So it was an exciting event yesterday.
Yeah, it was a seed that you don't see very often, especially because I was saying on stream that 99% of the time that the emblems, you turn those in, and they don't. They usually yield an herb, but lo and behold, it was a blue stone. At which point, me and my co-commentator were just kind of like, "Oh no." But so, today's race should be interesting, just because these are essentially two of the best speedrunners of Soul Blazer. So it's going to be. I expect that it's going to be kind of neck and neck.
Yeah, so today we remind you that the racers are racing for a beautiful prize. It's an illustration made by a Switzerland artist named Nin Mahart. She did a very beautiful poster of Soul Blazer, a unique piece. And we remind you that everybody in chat, there will be a raffle for one viewer will win this beautiful art also today in the raffle.
Yeah, we always make sure that our tournaments have that have something for everybody, and that so don't miss out on that raffle. And also, we'll be, if you guys are not familiar with Soul Blazer or the Randomizer, we'll Queenie and I will be explaining just bits and pieces about how it works, how it's a little bit different than how it's a little bit different from the vanilla game. But also too, we'll be sending you some links on how to, if you're interested in trying out this particular randomizer, feel free to join in. It's something fun for everybody.
We also have our Discord. We're always happy to see some new people coming in, and we'll put the link in the chat.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're just waiting for the countdown. We're going to be getting there pretty soon, and
Yeah, so we're seeing if our racers are ready. And they are.
Yes. All right.
Countdown 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go.
Burr.
Good luck to our racers.
Yep. Good luck. And that first chest is always going to be the Sword of Life. And already our players are going to be making mirrored movements. I think this is going to be a continued theme throughout the continuity of this run. It's going to look very, very similar because these two are just really at the top of their game. And the hope of the getting the Soul Blade first is not going to be. It's just.
No, and would you like to talk about what is randomized in this rando?
Oh, sure. So basically the way that this works is that if you're familiar with the vanilla game, you're going to see that there's basically 7 acts. There's 6 main acts, and what we in the normal game, you're going to be unleashing layers and NPCs, but also paths to lead through a series of worlds and so forth. And every one of these layers has monsters. So what Hulk, the player, but also the creator of this randomizer, has done is essentially made it so that the enemies are randomized, but also in most of basically all of the layers that release an NPC, those are randomized as well. Because in the normal game, what you're going to see is that the NPCs are only particular to that world. So, if you're but in this case, you're going to see that perhaps you have enemies and NPCs that can be released from it can be released from World 1, but actually are in World 6 and so forth. And so, with game knowledge, you kind of have to figure out exactly how the logic is supposed to go. And with any luck, what happens is that you're able to figure out how to get all the items. And just as a reminder, the items that are required to get through this game are 6 stones to get you to the World of Evil. It's going to be 3 red-hot items to activate Death Toll's Palace. And you need the Soul Blade, the Soul Armor, and the Phoenix in order to actually harm Death Toll. But you also need, and this is something that, as we saw as a feature of yesterday's game, which did throw some players off base, was you need NPCs to release to not only get to the World of Evil, which means the leader in each area, but you also need a path to be able to get to those characters and the king, which can be somewhat tricky. What you're seeing is that on each of these player screens, there is a tracker for the most important items, but the pathways are not going to be revealed, so it's just kind of up to the players to remember to have to be able to do these things. So,
and the player just released the water mill, which will give them access to the second part of this basement they're doing right now, but they don't have the bridge to reach it yet. And also the rendo of Soul Blazer was made by Le Hulk, as Benjanator said earlier, and we bless him because he cut short some of the the script of NPCs.
Yeah, you're going to see later on that there's a couple of really long cutscenes that basically are that are majorly cut down.
Oh, and
so we actually
just gamed over.
Yep. He just took a death right there, but
oh, I think he was on purpose.
Right, yeah, he just death warped because I think that he was trying to unleash the second world, because he actually did unleash the mill. So
and the bridge.
And the bridge, yeah. So he should be able to get to the second level in the first world, which is slightly unusual because most of the time you'll actually see that there's kind of a quick path to getting to the second world in Greenwood, which is arguably the most difficult, one of the most difficult things to do in a run.
Yep, and also one of the things that you need to progress is you need to release the character that gives you access to the next world in the vanilla version. You don't actually need the stone to get out of your world.
Yeah, that's one edit that Hulk basically made as well when he made this, is that in the normal game you need the stone, which is carried by the boss. In this case, all you have to do is interact with the whoever the world leader is. So in this case, it would be the village elder. But you do have to actually release his wife as well, otherwise the house doesn't appear. So we see that. So that Hulk is also going to be going into the second part of the basement, picking up Emblem F, which is what I call the bad luck emblem. So typically what you don't want to see in the beginning.
Yeah, and emblems, what they do is usually in the vanilla version, you have to collect all eight of them, and then you need the 2 NPCs that are the crocodile and the deer, and it gives you a blue jewel that gives you a magic bell. But in this case, we don't know what the blue jewel will give you. And if it's a trolling seed like we had yesterday, it's called a pedestal seed because it gives you one of the items you actually need to finish the rando.
Yeah, it's unusual where you have to actually use the emblems, but on occasion, it is something that is necessary, and we saw that in yesterday's race. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think it's mostly like 1 out of 50 seeds you get that. So it's kind of rare.
So both racers kind of following each other pretty closely. It looks like actually LostC0re is slightly ahead at this moment. They're both working on the same layer. Just released the stairwell up to the third area in here, which is the painting. But none of the players actually right now have the paintbrush, which allows them to get in there. So it's possible they could be going to World 2.
They just found the village chief, so they will be able to go to World 2 already.
Yep. So World 2 is going to be available. And yeah, Eddie Mion, it's there's a lot of checks in this game for items. It's something that's fairly common. It's there's other randomizers out there where the amount of required items is actually fairly low. This is not one of them because you need not only a lot of items, but you need a good chunk of NPCs as well. But typically when it's and you'll see actually Hulk do this a lot as well as LostC0re, is that they're probably going to be trying to go and release as much as possible before doing item checks. But there are going to be instances where they will need to do item checks. For example, in the fourth world, there is what is known as the Lucky Blade, which allows you to go to the Lake of Loon. There's later on what's known as the G Leaf that gets you to an area in World 2, etc., etc. So it's possible that these players will have to go to pick up items if they haven't had them.
Yes, and unfortunately for them, they still haven't found an armor or a more powerful sword. So if they go this early on the World 2, it's gonna be difficult for them.
Yeah, it's World 2 can be always a little bit more challenging when there's no armor, obviously.
Yeah, you always hope for at least a better sword or a better armor to go in the World 2 when you're so low on level.
So looks like Hulk's a little bit ahead at this moment. He actually released a part of World 3, which allows you to the rest of St. El's, and what you're actually going to see is that apparently the mermaid has magic flare, which is not the best spell, but it is a spell, and if you ever have to venture into Lanol and World 4, it makes things a little easier to deal with.
And they released the mermaid that gives you access to Act 3. I mean, the ocean part. So both of our players are playing with a tracker. As Ben was saying earlier, we have 2 types of tracker for these. We have the manual tracker, which I think the LostC0re is using because he found the village chief, but it's still not highlighted in his tracker. And the Hulk is using the auto tracker, which is kind of nice because you don't have to bother yourself with anything.
Yeah, we players were given a choice in this tournament to either do the auto or the manual tracker. So the auto tracker can be kind of nice just because you don't have to. If you can get it to successfully work on your PC, it makes it so that you don't have to worry about actually marking these trackers down. So it does mark key items. It tells you how many stones you have, and it tells you how many emblems you have. So looks like the G Leaf already was picked up. I must have missed that, but so the players will be able to go to the last area of World 2 if they get there. But the thing about that area at the end of World 2 is that there's enemies called Sundis, which can only be hurt by the what's known as the Spirit Sword or the Soul Blade. So we'll see if they decide to go there, but they're gonna have a lot of options. It looks like.
If we have a mod in chat, would it be possible, please, to update the title? Because it just says Metroid Prime. Please, if someone in chat can do it.
Yep. And by the way, in chat we have Dean K. Leonis, who was actually a player last year. Good to see you again, sir. Glad you're with us. Okay, so it looks like yeah, Hulk has just about completed the second world, and actually it looks like LostC0re slightly ahead, and they're going to be heading into the second world. The Elder gives a medical herb, which is disappointing, but expected.
So I will put in chat right away the link if you want to try this rando. If you just go on this link and you will be able to try it.
Yeah, absolutely. We could always use more people in the community. So Hulk doing a brief item check in the goat's pen, finding the red hot ball. So we got one of the items is taken care of. One of the 3 items that's needed to unleash the Palace of Death Toll. And off we go to World 2, which LostC0re is revealing the opening is the everybody's least favorite enemy, which is a series of teleporting statues. Probably the worst thing ever. But really, when it comes to handling these statues, you just have to kind of stand adjacent to them because they can only spit fire in one of 8 directions, and they typically do it in the wrong direction. Actually, it's but when you have 1.7 trillion of them show up in a layer, it can be kind of intimidating. And one thing that should be mentioned too is that in the vanilla game, you're never going to have a situation where you have the statues. I mean, except for like 1 or 2 layers, you're just going to have 1 or 2 total. But because it's a randomizer, you can have up to, I think it's like 12 or 13 of those statues.
Oh yeah, and they're very hard to kill.
Yeah, they're hard to kill. They tend to just kind of show up when they want to. But rest of this actually not looking too bad. We got a couple of Spitfire flowers and some Mudmen, which is always much better to see. Still got LostC0re slightly ahead, but yeah, you also have, as you can see, the flowers in the swamp where the lizards normally show up in the vanilla game. So if you have a lot of those, they can also hurt and slow down the game, which is something that nobody likes to see.
So I just put it in chat, the Discord. Feel free to join. We're always happy to have some new people who wants to try the Randomizer. And we should have next year a tournament. We're having a tournament every year. So if it interested you, just join our Discord.
Yeah, join our Discord, join the tournament, and hopefully you won't have the same technical issues next year as we have had this year. So
hopefully.
Yeah.
And also, I think we have someone working on new sprites, so maybe soon we should have the possibility to change your sprite when you play the rando. I'm looking forward to this. It's gonna be fun. Yeah,
it's because you know, the Zelda community has a ton of custom-made sprites. We're hoping to get the same thing here with some talented sprite artists, of which I am definitely not one. But if you're good at making sprites, then come join our community to play, but also to you know, make contributions. Gives you a chance to be artistic, and also it looks like LostC0re is once again fighting a series of statues. So I can say from having played several seeds of this randomizer, this is actually kind of more of a middling ground as far as Greenwood goes. It's that I've definitely dealt with seeds that have had nothing but statues, and thankfully this time they got some mudbed in between, which is kind of generous. We got some That's right. That's right, Mighty Metric. No bushes so far.
So if you want to try the Soul Blazer window, as you can see, it's not quite about glitches or about hard tricks. It's a pretty easy game. The only thing I would say you need to remember is the location of the invisible items. Once you know all of these 8 places and where the actual NPCs that gives you item, you're very good to go and play this rando. It's not really about having hard tricks to do like in Zelda rando where you need to do flippers and stuff like this. There's no glitch in this game if you want to try the rando.
Yeah, there's nothing quite as difficult as like basically a like a Ice Palace bomb jump or something like that, thankfully.
So those little spikes there, they can be really hurtful. Oh, and they got the bubble armor. It's a nice pick to have. So those spikes, if hopefully when you have the the soul blade, you can they gives you 3,000 XP points, so you can level up and grind there when you have the soul blade.
Yeah, it's one of those things too where if you get this at an early point in the game, it can be kind of a tactical thing to level up early, and it's fun too because you get the chance to swing the soul blade, and it makes the seed immensely easier because there's some points in this game, especially if you have low armor, that can be very difficult. Enemies do a lot of damage, but in this particular case, it's a little bit easier to deal with if you can get it, but it's not always the case. It depends on the seed.
So they are now in the first temple of the marsh, which is called the water temple, and they're in the basement of it. And LostC0re is fighting those enemies that I hate.
Yeah,
a few seconds where they are invincible.
Right, it's like in chat, someone was saying we haven't had the bush enemies yet, but now took care of those pretty quickly. The problem with the bush, the problem with the bush enemies, of course, is, as Queenie was saying, is they're slightly invincible, and if you're below level 5, they can be kind of a pain. But thankfully, both players are now at level 5, which helps, because your attack and defense are a little bit better, and LostC0re just picked up the delicious seeds right there, which is a fetch quest item that can be exchanged for usually an item. Oftentimes it's a medical herb from one of the squirrels. And LostC0re just releasing a grandma on fire, which I don't believe actually gives anything, but interestingly enough, those statues that he's now fighting are it's actually very vanilla, believe it or not. It's that's where the statues are in the original game.
Yep, and our players found Leo's brushes earlier and Leo's painting, so I wonder if they go there next.
Yeah, it's a possibility. It's kind of interesting because when you see the strategy for the randomizers, typically you'll kind of see that players will try to get to as many areas as possible. The first areas in each world, but sometimes it does make sense to try and basically get back to some of the easier areas as well.
Yes, and what you hope for is before you go to the next temple, which is the fire temple, you want to have the Zantetsu sword, because in this game, in the vanilla rando, some enemies can only be killed with certain sword, and in the second in the second temple, which is the fire shrine, you need the Zantetsu sword to kill the monsters that are made of metal. So if you don't have it before you go there, you have to come back later in the game to see if the enemies there gives you items that you need to finish the game.
Yeah, it can be kind of difficult. It can be kind of hard to remember sometimes. But you know, this is one of those areas where you do sometimes need to go back, and if you can get the Zantetsu sword a little bit earlier, it definitely helps because then you don't have to backtrack.
And it's the same thing for the spirit sword, which kill the enemies that are made of spirits or ghosts. And the only exception is the soul blade. If you find the soul blade early in game, you can kill everything with this blade.
Yep, Soul Blade can kill everything and can give you level ups, which is awesome.
Oh yeah.
But I have a feeling our runners might not be quite that lucky. We'll have to see.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you can't swing these blades until you're very higher on level in the game, but you can manage to use it by doing what we call crab walk, which is walking while pressing L or R, and your sprite just gets his sword up, and you can kill enemies this way.
Yeah, these
So far, I have to say they're not lucky with the blade. They don't have any more blade than the first one.
Yeah, and that will happen every once in a while. Is that you have these basically these seeds where you only have the sword of life. It's it can be a problem. I mean, fortunately for these players, because they're so prolific at the game, it shouldn't be an issue. But you do hope to get sort of a better sword earlier on, just because it helps immensely. Yeah, both these players now proceeding into the Fire Temple. It looks like LostC0re just released some steps, and I was speaking earlier about the importance of releasing, basically releasing these pathways to advancement. And the steps, you need 2 pairs of steps. LostC0re just picking up the Super Bracelet, my favorite non-required item, doubles your attack and defense. That's gotta feel good. And one of the things that's interesting too about this room is that we see that basically there's 6 scorpions here, and this is one of these rooms that I famously have trouble with. There's 6 scorpions that are made of metal, and they can only be killed by either the Soul Blade or the Zantetsu sword. So that means that they might have to come back later. Because of the fact that they oftentimes in this particular room, you'll see that the scorpions do release a treasure chest. But in this case, what you're going to be but later on in the dungeon, what you'll actually see is there's a layer down there. So they may have to come back here to release more monsters once they get something that can kill metal.
And as my teammate Rick Batman was saying, they got the light armor. So the light armor is an armor you like when you're at this point in the game, because you don't get damage from enemies until a long while. So basically, I think they don't have to worry about health from now on.
Yeah, the light armor. Once you get to a certain level, enemies below a certain level will essentially be will essentially not do any damage. They'll just make a tink tink sound.
Yep.
And so yeah, if you're thinking that seems like it's unfair and it makes you invincible, well, yeah, it does make you invincible. But I assure you, it is fair because it doesn't make you invincible all the time. Just when you get into a certain level. Also, one thing too is that the players did pick up the bubble armor, which will allow them to go underwater in St. L's, which is the third world, which they've already opened up a pathway to. But I don't believe they've released any statues yet, so they wouldn't be able to make it very far in the third world if they were to go there. But they should be able to go to Sotherta if they decide to do that, and that's accessible to anybody that's got the Woods Guardian. But we still need the Woods Guardian, so that hopefully should be coming up pretty soon.
Yep, and while you were talking earlier, they unlocked the right tower in Act 6, which sometimes can contain lots of items.
It's right tower is my favorite place in the game. It's usually has good items and usually has something that you're looking for.
Yep, all they need
And
now is the card.
and LostC0re
And
actually
there we
did pick
go,
up
the
this
fantasy
Z0re.
sword. Oh,
Yep.
you must be very happy. What a
Oh
good
yeah.
game to have it at this point where you need it.
Yeah, so LostC0re picked it up, and then the whole just a little bit afterwards. But yeah, so that's going to be super useful now because they'll be able to get the scorpions here, but also in the floor upstairs with the 6 other ones. So this is going to save some backtracking for sure.
So they won't need to come back yet. And they also got everything to go to the Leo's painting, which also has metal enemies. So my guess would be that they're going there after the light shrine, because they found the leaf that opens that way. So I think they're gonna go there after.
Oh yeah, it's possible. We'll be interested to see if they pick up the spirit sword. I think we might see an early light shrine play, but as it is, yeah, it does seem like because they have the painting and they have the pathway to get to Leo's, that they're probably going to be doing that next.
Yes.
So one of the things we're going to be seeing too is that Hulk is actually skipping that layer right now that he just killed because of the fact that you have to kill the scorpions, and every time you step on a layer that has a NPC, it releases any enemies that you kill from other layers, they get reset. So it's something that you have to make sure you don't do. And as as Mighty Metric pointed out, yes, Old Man Loon was released. So
Yes.
there is one of the pathways getting to Loon. However, I don't believe they've actually released the entire tunnel. I think they have to release the racetrack girl as well in order to get there. But they also need the Lucky Blade.
The Lucky Blade, yeah. They don't have it so far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'm gonna take this time to say thank you to Super Big Kmart, who is writing everything that our players are funding, so it makes it so much easier for us to follow. Thank you, Super Big Kmart, for that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, big props to Super Big Kmart for tracking and also for his great job commentating with me yesterday. So everybody in this community that's involved, we have we have nothing but praise for. Technical issues aside, which we've been facing all day, but
we're doing our best with English. As you can probably have noticed, English is not my first language, so I'm doing my best.
Well, English is immaculate as far as I'm concerned, so.
And welcome, Days of Dragon. Yes, this is Soul Blazer the Rando. The tournament is the finals against Le Hulk and LostC0re.
Yep, the 2 best in the world, duking it out.
Yes.
And LostC0re, by the way, just picked up by killing those scorpions, Big Pearl, which is used later on to open what is known as Hype Reap or Hype Cave. You have to go to a sleeping dolphin, which some of us refer to as the Chungus dolphin. He's going to be. It might be a while before they actually release him, but that can always usually lead to something. But that's another one of those places that has 4 treasure chests that usually all of them are herbs. But you never know. The seed's going to do what the seed's going to do. Rando's going to rando.
Yep, and so far our 2 racers are very tight. They're going the same road, doing the same thing every moment. So 27 minutes in, and they've been doing the same thing.
Yep, mirroring movements. LostC0re, killing those scorpions, just picked up the Veep card, which will lead him eventually to the happiest place on Earth, also known as Madrid's right tower. But yeah, they're pretty much it's kind of fascinating to watch because it's like Hulk will be slightly ahead and then LostC0re will be slightly ahead. It's very sort of I mean, you can almost visualize it as a go-kart race in which like one gets a little bit ahead and the other gets ahead for sure. It's pretty fascinating to watch for sure.
It's a nice way to put it. I like it.
Yeah. We're going to be seeing some divergence soon. So LostC0re has decided to go for the Light Shrine play, which can be a good gamble. He doesn't have the Spirit Blade yet, so he's not going to be able to kill all enemies in there. But we've already seen that LostC0re has released one of the pathways that lead to Gnome the Snail in World 4. So World 4 can actually be somewhat tricky because you need to release the king, you need to release the Gnome the Snail, and you have to release, I believe it's either 3 or 4 NPCs to be able to get to Gnome the Snail, to get to World 5. So we talked about other NPCs that need to be released to fulfill conditions to get to World 5. It's one of the longest and kind of most painful ones to do.
And LostC0re is going in Light Shrine. He decided to stay.
Yep. Sticking around, he's going to Light Shrine. And he's already encountering a lot of teleporting lizards, which are not the most fun. But but since they both are using the light armor, essentially getting hurt is kind of a thing of the past at this moment. But yeah, Hulk is doing the same thing. So they're
It's a copy paste. So again, I take this time to tell you all that our runners are playing for a beautiful prize. It's an illustration made by a Switzerland artist that's named Nid Maher. And we also have one for a raffle for all our viewers today. So stay tuned and we will have this raffle at the end of the game.
Yeah, so even more reason to watch the Soul Blazer Randomizer tournament. We got all the goodies and we got entertainment.
So I think we can expect usually a seed of Randomizer for, let's say, for a beginner can take what, 3 hours and a half maybe.
Yeah, if your first if this is your first playthrough with the Randomizer seed, it can be anywhere from I would say 3.5, probably even 4.5 hours, just because it takes some getting used to be able to figure out not just the logic, but I remember when I first started playing was remembering where all the items are, because there's these teeny tiles that have items that it can be really easy to forget. It makes it a little bit more challenging, I think, in that respect than something like the Zelda Randomizer, where it's just, you know, items and chests and so forth. Like there's very small spots that have them, but once you get used to it and once you know what you're doing, then you can usually pretty easily get under 3.5 hours, something like that.
Yeah, but once you get used to it, you can easily do it in 2 hours and a half.
Mm-hmm. A 2 hour and a half. Once you have proficiency, that's kind of the average time. Speaking of proficiency, what you're seeing is these players are in the basement of the Light Shrine, and because they're very familiar with the game, they're just kind of there's usually a mole that gives you a light here, but when you're familiar with this game, you don't need one. So they're kind of going through the motions right now and darkroom navigating, as it were.
Yep, and so far they still haven't found the Wood Guardian, so they will need to go back to Leo's painting, and it's pretty linear so far.
Yeah, pretty linear. And we did see that. LostC0re at the Lions boss right now, but we also did see that Hulk, who's just a little bit behind, released parts of getting to Gnome the Snail. So it turns out that this definitely was the right way to go, because getting to Gnome the Snail is 100% required in every seed. So this was definitely the right move.
Yep, and LostC0re that just finished the boss, and it wasn't the Wood Guardian, so we know he is going back to Act 1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so yeah, exactly, because because the Woods Guardian has not been released, this was essentially one of two places that they could go, which means that they're now going to have to do Leo's painting. So yeah, I agree with that Mighty Metric. This is a fairly linear seed so far, is that you're being forced to do a bunch of early areas first.
Okay, we're back. I'm sorry for that.
Yep. Slightly disappeared there.
But thanks to Kmart again, I see that they've rescued the dolphin that actually rescued Luke.
Yeah, that dolphin can be that dolphin can sometimes like you have to release the dolphin that rescues Lou, and you also have to rescue Lou himself, and Lou will give you an item, which in some cases actually can be pretty useful. Okay, we're back. I was briefly not seeing that as well, but it looks like just as we got our screen back online, it looks like the Woods Guardian was in as expected, Leo's painting, and now fortunately it looks like LostC0re and Hulk are going to be able to, because they have the Dentatsu sword, are going to be able to get rid of these enemies.
Yep.
And okay. Yeah, I'm trying to see, because unfortunately I missed what the first item is going to be in that chest. But like I said, usually it's not something overly useful. But of course,
it was the
finding
brown. It was the brownstone.
Oh, okay. So that makes that's always 100% required. Kind of important.
And the Wood Guardian also. So, but now we can finally see what they're gonna go, where they're gonna go, because maybe one will go in World 3 and one in World 4.
It's very true. And the King has been released by LostC0re. So it looks like there's a lot of value in Leo's painting, which is not always the case.
Oh no, I'm sorry, they don't have the Queen. They can't go to Act 4 yet, I'm sorry.
It looks like the Hulk has released the Queen, but LostC0re maybe hasn't. So he did release. We also have released Gnome, but the Path to Gnome. Or actually, no, I'm sorry. That's just a regular snail, not Gnome yet. Yeah, it's one of the peasant snails, unfortunately.
No, and since they already found the grandpa that holds the prison, we would have seen it was snail.
Oh yeah.
It was Gnome, sorry. So still our 2 players are so close again. That was
very close.
So
I mean, LostC0re has been a little bit. I mean, he's had a small lead for quite some time, but like I said, it does kind of go back and forth.
Yes.
LostC0re easily dismantling the first boss of this particular dungeon at level 13. That's gonna happen.
Yeah. So you released a mole that gives you an item, so we don't know if it's gonna be a useful item yet, but it might be.
Yep, that's Monmo the mole, and in order to get an item, you have to lead Monmo back to her home, and you also have to release her home. So.
No, Monmo is behind the mole that gives you. You have to give him the ribbon. That's another mole.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I confuse my mole sometimes.
It's okay. I confuse the name
Yep.
too. Like
Yes.
calling gnome snail.
Yeah, Monmo's the other one. That's right.
So what Benjanator was talking about is that you need a little ribbon to get to Monmo, who gives you an item also.
Yeah, there's another hole and another mole. But it looks like LostC0re is going to be doing some item scanning. Speaking of that mole, is going to be leading that mole to her home, and going to be seeing what's there. Because sometimes this is a good idea. Like usually you want to release them in as many layers as possible, but sometimes it's a really good idea if you're there to just kind of do the item checks. And unfortunately, we just got Emblem C, which, as SceroRe was indicating, could possibly lead to something good, but hopefully
we don't wish that.
We don't wish for a pedestal C to be happening at any point.
And I think I got confused again because they did release the queen, so they could go to Act 4 already.
Yeah, it's it's possible that LostC0re is just using a manual tracker, so it's sometimes you get a little bit behind. But yeah, so World 3 is available and going to at least the first part of World 4, and LostC0re showing us the Sow Blade as part of the yep.
Must be happy.
Yeah, behind the cave with the pass kids, so good stuff.
And Lol decided not to go give the pass to the little boy, so he missed that item.
Yeah, so no Soul Blade for Hulk for a while, which Hulk with a Soul Blade is it's like a nuclear weapon, so
good one.
Yep. So good for LostC0re, but yeah, that was a good item check for him right there. Is just because sometimes doing that will get you things like the Soul Blade. And now going to not Sidurta, but actually the first area in St. El's. And then I imagine that Hulk is probably going to be going for either Sidurta or could be going to the Mountain of Souls. Hulk releasing Durian, which he cannot get to right now. He has to be able to release Rockbird first. But now we see LostC0re going to Sidurta. Almost said Lost Bird for a second there. Yeah, so it's both players kind of pretty much going in the same direction. There hasn't been a lot of divergence yet, mostly because this is just kind of the most optimal way to go. But any gamble is it could be worthwhile in these ones.
And yeah, I think the Hulk is going to go into World 4 because he just talked to the Queen.
He did, and he's also opting for Sidurta, so.
I am surprised. I thought he would have go to World 4 already. Because in the first part you get 5 items, so.
Yeah, you get 5 items. I mean, they don't necessarily need levels at this point, but that can also be helpful. And with something like the light armor, it's just going to be a useful thing. And LostC0re releasing Blester, which in a previous in a scene that Queen was commentating on, the one that I was playing in for a good solid minutes, had literally everything that you could ask for. So we'll see when and if these players decide to go to Blester. I'm not sure when it's going to happen.
Yeah, so you rarely see that. 2 things you rarely see is a pedestal seed, and Blester being needed, and we saw both of this weekend.
Yep. And as Metric has pointed out in chat, it looks like the Sleeping Soldier actually has one of the red hot items, so that's not something that you see every day either. So we know where the mirror is, and we know where the Soul Blade is.
Yeah, and LostC0re just released Gnome.
Yeah, LostC0re just released Gnome, and I think that I think they might need one more NPC to get to Gnome, but I think we're pretty close.
Yep.
And both players have these Zantetsu sword, which means that they could go there. They're not level 16 yet, which is the minimum level you need to swing it, but still. And Iberville, her percent is not an actual percent. It's just kind of a meme and an inside joke among the Rando Blazer community, because you'll find, especially when you get to the end of a seed, is that every NPC and their mother gives up herbs, basically. And also, should we mention, LostC0re just picked up the 3rd stone. So,
Yes.
3 stones, 1 red hot item, the soul blade, and we know where the mirror is. So we're moving pretty fast as far as the seed goes.
Yep. And so far, also they took the same road, so no really divergence in their gaming.
Yeah, it's we haven't seen any divergence yet, but it's bound to happen, because the race that Queenie was playing in yesterday, and the one I was commentating on, like it was vergence o'clock. Like, by the time you got at least by an hour into it, everybody was going in every different direction, and it was so incredibly confusing.
Yeah, must have been a nightmare to commentate.
Yeah, we had thankfully some help from the chat to keep track of things that me and Kmart might have missed.
So again, if you want to try this Soul Blazer Rando, feel free to join our Discord. I'm gonna put the link in chat, and also the link to the Soul Blazer Rando.
Yeah, so it's a lot of fun. We always need more people, and it's. I mean, these are 2 veterans of the game, but we had actually a pretty different roster of folks in the tournament this year than last year. So I encourage anybody who's interested to become familiar with this game. I mean, you probably should play the vanilla game first, but once you get acquainted with the mechanics and the pathing and the logic, then it's probably my favorite randomizer for the SNES. So I recommend everybody give it a shot.
And we're always happy to have some new people on our Discord. You can ask us information if you want, and you'll find also the links if you want to have your tracker, manual tracker or auto tracker.
Yep. And we have also some hilarious rivalries like between Netta and SceRe, which is always entertaining. So we got some good people there.
So this is our 2nd annual tournament, and we should go for another one next year, because it's a lot of fun, and racing casual with friends is also fun.
Oh yeah, it's always fun. It's always fun to race with people. I have a couple of my friends who prefer to do the SM64 randomizer. I've gotten them to play this, and they humor me by playing it with me. So it's always a good time.
So finally, they're going our separate ways, as LostC0re decided to go in Act 4, and LostC0re stayed in Act 3.
Yep, LostC0re has made, in my opinion, the correct decision, because he decided to go to Bluster, which is releasing Rockbird, which is definitely...
Oh, shame on you, Ventinator, for wishing that.
Yeah, it's I'm always an advocate of going to Bluster, because it always requires something that you think you didn't need, but is always there. Actually, Iberville, somebody in chat yesterday made the remark that the sound of the sword swinging in Soul Blazer kind of sounds like Maggie from The Simpsons making the pacifier noise, and now I can't unhear that. It's what it sounds like.
I've never noticed that. That's so funny.
Yeah, but it's very accurate. No, I think the swinging sword in ActRaiser is more manly sounding, but I like both. So we'll see. Like LostC0re, I think LostC0re has already validated Bluster by just giving access to Rockbird and Durian. But as Queenie was saying, there is some divergence there. But now LostC0re got one of the most famously useless items, which is the Thunder Ring, which because LostC0re has the Z sword, it has no value whatsoever. But if you were to go here and you didn't have the Z sword, the Thunder Ring would be useful because it does allow you to get rid of the metal monkeys in Bluster.
And I just found his second red hot items, which is the red hot stick. Sorry.
Red hot stick, yeah. So
yeah.
the thing is, though, is that, I mean, going to the first Mountain of Souls, everybody's going to go there, so LostC0re is going to be able to find that at some point.
Yeah. Still won't be able to make it fully because he doesn't have the mushroom shoes, but I don't think he wants the mushroom shoes.
Right, I mean, to be fair, nobody really wants the mushroom shoes because mushroom shoes lead to lane ul, and unless you got fireball and light arrow, the lane ul is annoying for everybody. No matter how good you are at this game, dealing with the Wiz Rogues is just it's a fate.
Yep, and so far they only have one magic.
But speaking of Bluster continuing to be required, LostC0re did release the steps that lead to the top of the attic in the 5th world. So again, Bluster everybody needs to go there. But that being said, the way that the seed is kind of panning out, it kind of seems like I imagine the Hulk is gonna have to end up going there at some point because especially just because of the requirements that are in Bluster, he's probably gonna have to be bottlenecked into going there. But we'll see. Who knows? It could be.
Yeah, but
could be.
I feel he's gonna wait at the last minute to go there.
Yeah, it's true, especially because of what he was saying in yesterday's race. Because during the interview, he said that, well, you know, there was a lot of better choices. So we're still kind of at that point where there is some better choices. We'll see.
Because statistically, it's not a place where you usually need to go, so you try to go there if needed. Oh, and he found another stone.
Yep, black stone in. Yeah, we're getting this could be a relatively fast seed because he's got 4 stones already. We know where the soul blade is. We know where the mirror is. So
we're just missing the grandma and the phoenix.
Yeah, basically. It's
and of course we still don't know if it's a pedestal seed.
Yeah. So
Let's not
it could be a pedestal seed, and as we've seen in all the seeds, is that the search for the grandmas can be a real pain in the butt. It's sometimes the grandmas are just hidden in the places you don't want to go. Cough lane ul. So we'll see.
2 pedestals in a weekend is evil.
Well, now that Netta has, done his sorcery spell chat talking pedestal, it's going to be a thing now.
And LostC0re, I think he's going for a little item rush in Act 3.
Yeah, he's just doing some checks there. So again, it could pay off because LostC0re has been no 80 gems. Never mind. Or maybe maybe the purple-headed mermaid will have something. We'll have to see.
Oh no! The ult finding the mushroom shoes with the blue jewel there. Oh my god! Oh, it must be so bad.
He's going to the unhappiest place on earth.
Oh my god! What a weekend we've had with seeds.
I know, yeah, it's and LostC0re kind of lucking out. He found the elemental male doing the item rush, so he's armored, he's got the soul blade, and he's going to Rockbird. So I kind of like the direction he's going. I'm not a fan of the direction that Lightly Hulk is going, but we'll see if there could be a grandma or two there, so it could pay off.
I think we should officially ban Netta from running the seeds from now. Vote in chat, should he do it next year or not?
Yeah, because for the longest time I was notorious for rolling really bad seeds, but I think I'm gonna have to pass the crown to Ned on this one. This is
Can't be worse than this weekend. Wow.
Yeah, he's got just a slew slew of just awful seeds. So while
Like we
Hulk is
say, is this even randomized?
That's right, Leonis, and I have no apologies for my my bad seeds that I've rolled before. So.
So LostC0re going to Rockbird, and we'll see what Rockbird is holding. So I've heard by speedrunner that this particular place, we don't know the optimal route so far to how to make it quick as possible. Do you start by the bottom part, by the upper part? So
Yeah, I think I usually start from the I start from the lower right hand corner, but obviously that might not be the best route because I think I've seen Hulk kind of do the same route that LostC0re is doing as well. So I don't think it's a totally figured out thing, but it can always be kind of fun to see how people go.
And so far, those two little treasure chests were not very paying off.
Yeah, I mean, LostC0re did pick up the catnip, but then just a bunch of gems. So, yeah, not particularly great. Haven't seen anything from the unhappiest place on Earth that's really of any value from Hulk yet, but we'll see. And of course, Hulk dealing with the my least favorite enemy of the game is the purple Wizrogues.
Yeah, and unfortunately, this magic that he has is not quite strong or good.
Yep. Meanwhile, LostC0re chopping down some trees and going fishing.
What a weekend.
Yep. Yeah, so just to go back down memory lane in chat, Leonis, who's in chat, I think that he was last year. He had a 4-person race, I believe, was him with Invenerable and the Hulk. So it was kind of like and LostC0re. So it was like two Titans versus two people that were just kind of getting introduced to the game. So that was a really fun one to commentate, if I recall. But that was also one of those seeds that had the Soul Blade as like one of the first items, which is definitely not the case here.
And Hulk releasing Lisa, which gives you access to 1 layer and 1 treasure chest in Act 1. And we'll see what they hold us.
Yeah, Lisa's one of those things that it's always kind of a gambly play because you kind of have to go out of your way to get there. And it can also kind of be easy to forget. I've had more than one seed and playing with friends where it's just kind of like been, oh yeah, Lisa was a thing. So Lisa, if you go early enough and it pays off, can be a really, really good thing to have. But it can also be a waste of time.
And the Phoenix! Hulk finding the Phoenix! So Leno was requested. Oh my god. He must be happy he got those shoes after all.
Validated by... Yeah, validated by Leno, which is Netta's worst nightmare whenever there's any value in Leno.
Shout out to Netta for rolling this sucky seed all weekend.
Yep. Well, this was Netta's undoing, is rolling the type of seed that he would hate to play.
Yeah. And I take this time also to say thank you for Kmart for staying with us this weekend. He was supposed to be commentating, but we have some little technical issues. But now he's making our job so easy by writing everything the players are finding. And also thank you for Mira, who was hosting us all day yesterday. She was very good. Thank you so much for your help, everyone.
Yeah, it's restreamers don't get enough credit sometimes, so much appreciated to Mira for keeping this up online. And and thank you, Netta, as well. Even though your seeds are terrible, we appreciate you restreaming this.
Yes, thank you, Netta, for doing this tournament all weekend. we had quite a nice race so far.
And speaking of unhappy places, LostC0re now going to Durian, which is probably a smart move, but that doesn't make Durian a more fun place to go.
No, because since we know where the Soul Blade and the Soul Mirror is in the Phoenix, now yeah, they're still missing the Soul Armor, but I think they're gonna go for more now, searching for NPCs or layers that open roads.
Yeah, Durian's probably a smart play because, like, if you have Rockbird access and you're there, you might as well go to Durian. It just kind of makes sense.
Yes.
But
Generators still hoping they'll go in the right tower.
Yeah, no, I always hope for right tower. That's
I mean, I always
anytime
hope
anybody
for
goes to anytime anybody goes to right tower and there's something required, I'm just like, yes, exciting.
Me, it's Ghost Ship, my favorite.
Yeah, Ghost Ship's kind of fun. It's especially fun when the Chungus has items in his cave, but it's pretty unusual. It's usually mostly herbs. So the only thing that's a little bit disappointing is I was really kind of hoping we'd see early Fireball or early like Light Arrow, just because with both of these players, seeing them use magic is like just it's a work of art.
And they're all going back in Act 2.
Yeah, all going back in Act 2 to just.
We'll find out if it's the pedestal scene or not.
Here's the moment of truth.
People.
Yep. Is it? I think it's going to be a strange bottle. Oh, flame ball. That's the that's Hulk's machine gun. He must be a little bit disappointed.
No.
So we'll see if Durian has any. Oh, Magic Bell gems no longer a thing. Yeah, it's invalidates gems. Now you can just use magic all day, every day. Now he's gonna be checking Tiki the Bird.
But
but look at that!
The mold
LostC0re releasing the Doll Marie in Durian, so Durian is 100% required.
How do you say her name?
It's I say Marie without the yeah, I don't have without the French R. Unfortunately.
Because I say Marie.
Yeah, that's a much better way to say it.
But it's funny because it's my real name. I'm called Marie. So when I say people Marie, it always makes me laugh.
I'll just say La Poupée and leave it at that.
And the Hulk finding the Spirit Sword.
Yeah, Spirit Sword. Releasing King Magrid, LostC0re. So Durian is as required as possible. We have not one but two elders there. It's not showing up on his tracker yet because I think he's using a manual one. But I think that aside from just one of the paths to get to get to know it.
LostC0re is only putting his NPC when he has access to it.
Oh, that makes sense, yeah.
So you won't put King Madrid in the highlight until he can actually reach it.
That's smart.
And all going back to Light Shrine to see what the Spirit Sword can give him.
Yep, and LostC0re releasing Wood Grandpa, so Durian's got all kinds of value.
Yep. So basically, so far, all of Act 3 was necessary. We still don't know about Ghost Ship, but everything else was necessary.
A Ghost Ship is probably going to have the soul armor. So I'm actually just trying to remember where they've been. I know that Hulk has not been to World 3 yet.
No, he only did the island.
So only did the island there. So LostC0re still has to go to Mountain of Souls, but he's going to be finding some good stuff there. And he may very well decide to do Lanel as well, which is which I'm sure is not going to make him very happy, but it is going to be necessary. Yeah, the interesting thing is that around somewhere where they're going to have to go to Loon in order to get to World 5. We'll have to see. But I think LostC0re, yeah. So World 5 is open for business. Now we're seeing LostC0re taking care of the sleeping mushroom, another easy thing to miss. So when he does decide to do Loon, he'll be able to do it in its entirety.
And I don't understand because the Soul Blade was in the village of Act 2.
Soul Blade, I believe, was actually in Act 1. It was behind the past kid.
Oh yeah, it's true.
Yeah, it's he kind of did it in a split second, and it was kind of an odd play to me. But yeah, that's where the Soul Blade is. But now Hulk is quickly going to be catching up, doing Bluster. He's going to be very happy to find some stuff there. So these players have diverged, but now they're kind of overlapping. So it's kind of coming back together. Basically, LostC0re is going where Hulk was, and Hulk is very likely going to be doing the rest of World 3, although he may decide not to. We'll have to see.
Yep.
Especially now, because now Durian's releasing Bluster's releasing Rockbird, followed by Durian. So I would guess he's probably going to be going that path.
And Nita saying that the Soul Blade was given by the little boy he named Francis in honor of my son. Thank you, Nita. And as I said before, I don't think my son would stand guard in front of a door for so long without moving away. That's quite impossible, Nita.
Yeah, that's a very well-disciplined kid to be standing in front, especially guarding the Soul Blade. I mean. Yeah, so basically, just the players are kind of overlapping at this point, which will bring this will kind of equalize. LostC0re is going to have is going to end up with 4 stones. So we know where the mirror is.
There's not lots of like the choices are quite the same. Like you either go to there or there, so not much difference in the routing they can take at this point.
Yeah, so like I said, we saw like a very small divergence, but now it's coming back together. And I imagine very soon, once all these players get through these areas, we're going to be seeing them going into Leo's basement. So.
Yep. And LostC0re is soon going to find his mushroom shoes. He's going to be mad at them too.
I mean, it's very possible. I mean, this will be interesting to see because LostC0re might decide to say, screw Lionel, gonna go to World 5. But since you're there, so you might as well do it.
Yeah. Because otherwise, what happens is when the player doesn't have the mushroom shoes and he finds out that Lionel is necessary, you have to walk back all the way there, and you lose lots of minutes.
Yeah, it's having
a huge
to go
time
back.
loss.
Right, having to go back for Lionel later on is one of the worst things that can happen to you, so I think he's probably going to try to avoid that.
And our 2 players are so close in skill that we did a friendly race last weekend, and they finished in 17 seconds of each other.
Yeah, it was a very, very close race.
Oh yeah.
That was another race that I was a part of for about 30 minutes, in which I died 7 times. So.
I did mine in 3 hours 40 minutes.
Well, from my memory, that was a pretty crazy seed too.
Oh, so. it was a hard beginning, yeah.
Yeah, it's it was pretty much one of those seeds that had all every statue everywhere.
LostC0re founding his 4th stone, and he forgot to put it in his tracker again. So yeah, he is using a manual tracker.
Yep.
Oh,
which
there
is fine. I like using a manual tracker too, so there's nothing wrong with it. You can it is kind of useful if you decide to pick up this randomizer because there has been a auto tracker that's been devised by our community, but there also is a manual tracker that you can use as well. So whatever one suits your fancy. We're going to be seeing where LostC0re decides to go. Like I said, there is a chance he's going to be doing lane ult, but he could decide just to press on to World 5. So this is going to be one of those bigger moments.
But I think at this point, when you get the shoes there, you just go for it.
Oh yeah, I would do the same thing.
So again, I think it's time to tell you if you want to join your Discord, feel free to join. We're always looking for a new person who wants to try the Soul Blazer Rando. I'll put the link in chat, and I'll also put the link for if you want to try the Rando as well.
Yep, always a good time. And also too, there's probably going to be as Queen had mentioned earlier, some custom sprites hopefully for this, but also it's been a while since Hulk's worked on the randomizer, but you know, there could be the possibility of seeing kind of flags and variations as well. We'll have to see. So the more people join the randomizer, the more people will see. I think the greater chance we have of variation and custom mods and flags. So help us help you. And yep, he's doing the lane ult thing.
Yep.
Yep, it's good though. Yeah, it might be the unhappiest place on earth, but it's necessary. It's the opposite of Disney World.
Depends.
Yeah.
Disney World can be fun if there's not too much people.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
I take it you don't have kids, Benjanator.
Well, no, I don't. But I've had I have friends that have brought their kids to Disney World, and they've told very similar stories about, especially if you decide to go in July with like 3 kids. It's just it's the definition of suffering.
There's like going to Disney in July, and underneath giving birth.
Yeah. I've never given birth, but I have gone to Disney World in July twice. Yeah.
Netta,
we won't go there.
Sure? So after this awkward moment, all deciding to take the upper road in Rockbird.
Yeah, so he's and I think he's done this in his speed runs before, so I'm kind of not surprised. I've seen other players do vanilla runs of this game, but I think at this point it's kind of a stylistic thing. But I mean, who knows? Maybe going the upper route is more optimal. It's been a while, but
I usually go for the lower route because upper left is the jewel that brings you back to St. Els.
Yeah, I agree. It's a little bit more convenient. I think to have the jewel at the end, but
might be longer. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I just saw my friend JJ do the lower route, and I've just been kind of doing that.
So again, I'll let you know that the racers, are running today for a beautiful prize. It's an illustration made by the artist Nan Marit, which you can now see on the screen at the upper left. And we also have a raffle going on for all our viewers. One person will win one of this unique piece. It was made by an illustrator, a Switzerland illustrator. So stay tuned. At the end of the race, we will have the raffle.
Yeah. Last year we had a herb perler, which was also fantastic. But I think this is yeah, this is an even I think even a better prize in my opinion. It's a beautiful piece of artwork. So
Oh,
but
and
for that,
sorry, it's gonna be a little bit before the end of the race. I'm sorry.
yep. And we'll see if any of these players do decide to go for Lisa. It can be a pretty nasty seed when Lisa is required, but you know, so far overall.
I'm hoping the Hulk will go because then he'll get his soul blade.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's very true. Well, he'll stop by the he'll stop by Francis and get his soul blade.
Yes, little Francis. And LostC0re finding his Phoenix, realizing now that it was required to go to Leno.
Yeah, if you're in a race like this though, and you do decide to go to Leno, and you don't know what the other players are doing, that's probably a pretty good feeling to be like, aha, Leno was required, and maybe nobody else went. So.
And also, I can see them both in their room saying, "Oh, really? Duran and Duran, Lester and Leno."
Yep. Yeah, Hulk's about to find that out pretty soon. He should be like, Durian, really?
Is walking. Maybe he's gonna go right away to Durian.
Yes, I imagine that's what he's probably gonna do, because you can also open up like the pathway to make it easier to get to the ghost ship when you decide to go back there. So, yep, there you go. So now he basically, if he decides to go back to ghost ship, which, if for your sake, Queenie, I hope that they do.
No, they don't have open the path yet. He's going to Durian.
Yeah, it's not open yet, but I mean, now there's a much easier path for when they get the statue.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
But we'll see. We'll see, because we're still grandma-less the seed, so we don't know.
Grandma-less. Oh, that's so sad. They lost her.
Yeah, it's
Don't say it like this. It's super sad.
it's a cruel seed. And instead of grandmas, we got Lionel. It's just.
That sums the weekend up. A sad weekend.
Yeah, we got technical issues, statues, Lionels, and no grandmas.
Yeah, no grandma. Pedestal seed. Sad weekend.
Which is the Randomizer folks is you get all this and more.
Yeah. So the Hulk is about to find King Madrid and Marie, which were in Turin, and also the grandpa in the mountain that opens the way.
Yeah. So LostC0re going to World 5. Showing us the Mystic Armor, which is completely useless at this point, pretty much.
Yeah.
But now LostC0re going to be doing the first Leo's Basement, which I cannot think of a seed where I haven't had to do Leo's Basement. Like, it's just, it's pretty, it's like every first area of almost every world where you almost have to do it every time. But there has been a couple times where I've had seeds where you haven't had to do the basement in Madrid Castle, but in this case, it's almost always a requirement. But just as a quick note, if you're not familiar with the vanilla game, or at least it's been a while, the enemies here are basically immune to magic and are metallic. So you need at least the Z-sword or the soul blade to be able to hurt enemies down here.
Yeah, and so far it's kind of impossible to say who's ahead. Maybe I would say the LostC0re a little bit because he went back to find the soul blade, which is helping him maybe, but they're very tight in the race.
But it looks like the Hulk is going to be able to catch up pretty quickly once he gets through the end.
Yep. And welcome, Stormy Galaxy, who just joined us. She was commentating yesterday with me.
Yep.
Thanks again for that, Stormy.
Yeah, it's Yeah, always appreciative of a fellow commentator, and I can say that this has been sort of an average seed so far. It's nothing. It hasn't been anything too tricky. Just very sort of beginning heavy, I'd say. They've had to do a lot of areas in the first couple worlds before being able to move on. Because hour 18 in, just first time during World 5 is it's a little bit later than usual.
And if you were watching the alt screen, you could have seen how well he manages magic. How he gets to move around his blue ball. He's very good with his magic.
Yeah, Hulk is world famous for his use of magic, and it's probably a little bit sad that his machine gun, known as the Flame Ball, is locked by eight emblems.
Yeah.
But hey, it could be worse. It could be a blue stone, as it was in the previous seed.
Don't you wish that again? And there he is. He releases his King Madrid.
Yep. Or at least, yeah, so now he knows that La Poupée and the King are there, so...
Yeah, he got married already.
Yep. I mean, I would like to say Mighty Metric that the seed was self-adjusting, but that would suggest that there was like some kind of AI within the randomizer, which is terrifying, so... Hopefully that's not the case.
Yeah, but so far, LostC0re is not finding anything useful in the basement.
Yeah, nothing so far. I would imagine at this point there probably is going to be like the door that leads to the attic, hopefully, but we'll see.
And for those of you who've joined and missed the beginning of the race, let's take the time again to say that this is the final of our weekend of speedrunning Soul Blazer Rando. Yesterday we had 3 groups, and this is the final of the winner of the brackets. We were supposed to have 2 other people who unfortunately got PC problems this morning and couldn't make it, so it came down to a duel.
Yep. It was originally supposed to be a 4-person race, but you know, these are 2 players at the top of their game, and I'll be honest, it is easier to follow 2 players than it is 4, so it's still an exciting match so far.
Yep. And it was yesterday we saw all kind of seed.
Yeah. It was pretty crazy because the race that I briefly played in was kind of a dream seed until there was a missing grandma, and the seed that Queenie was playing in was just kind of a it was special. Let's put it that way.
Yes. So all going into the mushroom's dream, which will give him 1 more layer and 1 invisible item.
And if you notice too,
so far they don't have the lucky blade, so they cannot go yet to the loon.
Yeah, so loon is still not quite accessible. But that's always one of those areas that it's really sort of a 50-50 if it's required or not. I've had a lot of seeds that have required loon, but there's a lot of seeds that don't, and it's kind of a bummer when it turns out that loon is a waste of time just because you spend a lot of time, you know, dealing with Wizrows, which are not fun.
Disappointment strikes my heart as the Hulk is not going to Act 1 to get the Soul Blade.
Oh no!
No!
It may be a while. One thing to notice too is that LostC0re has been very sort of masterful at getting rid of robotic mice, which is another one of the more annoying enemies in the game. Was just kind of backing up and basically killing the mice as soon as they emerge from the layer, which is what you need to do, because otherwise, if mice go away, you spend a lot of time waiting around, you know, waiting for them to come back. And yesterday, during one of Solar Cell, during one. Flicker his sword back and forth, hoping that would attract the mice, but it didn't work. The only way to do it is to wait around for them to come back, unfortunately.
Yep. And what we don't like in this random is that since the enemies are randomized, you don't know where the the racing mice might come from. So you always have to be on guard, not to them to get away.
Yeah, the one thing that's kind of interesting too is that you'll sometimes just have mice go in like a 4 square little rectangle, basically square dancing. That's the most convenient thing is when they're not going anywhere. But then half the time you have 2 mice that move around and 2 mice that just kind of stay in place. So it's it's not fun. But fortunately, you only really get to have to deal with this in two areas in the game.
Yep. So so far our racers are missing the soul armor. We know that the soul blade that the Hulk is missing is in Act 1 behind the little boy with the pass. And we also know that the red hot mirror is held by the sleeping soldier in Act 6, sorry.
Hi there.
Hello.
Hello, Neta.
Hi. I'm here because it's the moment for the raffle. So I think Fizzle must be in the chat. I'm just waiting for the explanation what the people must write on the chat for taking part of the raffle. But it will be very soon.
Excellent.
So as I said earlier, we have a beautiful prize. It's an illustration made by a Switzerland artist that you can now see in the upper corner left, and it's a unique piece of made poster of Soul Blazer, and our winner are racing for this weekend, and also we have one to give away in the raffle.
Yeah, who doesn't love artwork? So we're seeing too that LostC0re is actually going for the other Leo's Basement, which is it's not usually a bad idea. There's not a lot of layers here, and there's only, I believe, 1 item, but or 2 items. I'm sorry, but you know, sometimes it's often that it is required.
Yep.
And
LostC0re found his lucky blade, which will give him access to Loon in Act 4. So we see if he'll go there next. Leno may have has a couple of chests, so but since we're more looking for NPCs and roads than item at this point, because we're only missing the soul armor.
It was pointed out by Mighty Metric actually that there was a stone in Leo's Basement as well. I'm trying to remember exactly which one, but so that one of them is going to be required, and we also saw that something I briefly missed when LostC0re was releasing it, but one of the layers down here was actually the first model town, so that's a possibility as well.
Okay, guys, it's the moment. So you can, if you want to take part of for the raffle, you can write on the chat Randomizer in 1 word. Then we're going to pick someone for receiving this fan art from the Swiss artist Nedmay.
All right.
Yep, so
I
just
hope
type
he's not choosing
Randomizer in
myself.
chat.
Well, in that spirit, I will do the same.
So come on, people, write Randomizer if you want to win this unique piece of art.
Yeah.
Waiting for the name of the winner and before the big ending of this tournament, I just want to thank a few people helping for this tournament. So firstly, I want to thank all the runners: Amazing Toaster, LostC0re, Cool Schnaps, Vevictus, Le Hulk, Ben, SolarCell, Namefaker, Jintas2, and Queenie. I also want to thank Myra and Y for managing all the streaming, and I want also to thank the commentators, so Le Hulk, Queenie, Stormy, Kemar, Ben, and thanks for the people of SpeedGaming and SpeedGaming French, and hope seeing you again next year. So I think we
and
can.
thank you, Netta, for
Yeah, thanks.
thanks for making this all possible. Yeah.
And I
the
think
one
we.
who did all the tournament.
I think we can choose one people on the chat for this prize. So if you're the winner, you can send me a whisper by Twitch. My nickname is NetAnonyma.
Nita calling himself the winner.
that was my thought too.
Why not?
Well, someone cheated. That was rigged.
Yep.
No, I'm not choosing people. there's a bot called by Fizzle.
So this raffle is made by the bot. What?
There's a bot, but a moderator must call it.
Okay.
So that's Fizzle who choose who throw the command.
And so while we were sleeping, sleeping.
Sleeping. Sleeping.
Well,
This girl is
while
drunk.
we were
This girl is drunk.
talking.
After commentating for 12 hours, this girl is like drunk.
I'm sorry. While we were talking, Lost came in his way to Model Town.
Yep. Model Town. And also Stormy pointed out I appreciate that, Stormy. Actually, one of the stones is in the second Leo's basement, so that is going to be required. And the Lucky Blade was in the first basement, so just in case there was any confusion there. But yeah, LostC0re going into the first Model Town, and I think we're probably going to see Hulk go in a similar direction. Oh, and yep, he's going there. He's saying he's leaving the second basement alone for a while. So,
Yep.
So this is interesting because Hulk does not have the Soul Blade yet, and he also doesn't have he hasn't gone to the second basement, which is where Stone is. So, depending on how this goes, if Hulk doesn't visit these places for a while, CORE might have a significant lead. We'll have to see.
We have a winner. That's Serotonin 2501Z. So you can give.
Congratulations, Serotonin.
All right, serotonin is good for the brain. I appreciate it.
And we hope you enjoyed this unique piece of heart.
Mm-hmm. Congratulations. And I'm glad it wasn't Netta. So yeah, it's and next year too. The third annual event, we're gonna have hopefully another great piece of artwork. So, if for any other reason to watch to win artwork, you should do it. But you should also play Randomizer because good game.
It will be a painting made by Nita.
See, the problem is if that happens, it's going to be a painting of something bad happening to SpeedRun, and that might be a bit much. So.
So our players just found the stairs that leads to Mary the doll. So it was required after all to go in Model Town.
Yeah, Model Town required, which means that excitement's going to happen and that World 6 is going to be in play. So this is when the seed gets really good.
So far, there was no places that was useless.
Yeah, I think every place has had something.
Every place was required.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so both players have gone to a lane-null, so there's not really any there's not the lane-null gap, which sometimes happens. But like I said before, Hulk still doesn't know where the Soul Blade is, and he has not gone to the second basement, so that could be a divergence point. So it's very likely that we are going to be seeing probably the basement of Rivergrid Castle and Right Tower. So I hope so. That would be the smart move.
No ghost ship?
Well, I mean, I hope My guess is that we're probably gonna have the soul armor on Ghost Ship. So.
Oh yes. Queenie will be happy.
Right. I just want everybody to see their favorite places, since you know we already saw Netta's favorite place, Lainol. We need to see everybody else's.
And for those of you who don't know this game, right now they're in the event. It's called Invisible Model Town because some enemies are invisible. Usually you can see them if you get a particular door that gives you the ability to see them, but they don't have the door so far. And anyways, when you know the game, you know where the enemies are. They always spawn at the same place. So basically, once you know it, you don't need the door anymore.
Yeah, in theory, I sometimes still need the assistance of the Invisisoul because I've had seeds where I'm like kind of recklessly swinging the sword, just being like, why aren't they dying yet? So. And
LostC0re just found a soul armor.
Yeah, that's I just missed that. Where was the soul armor?
I don't know. I think it was in Model Town. That's where he was, and I missed it, but I just noticed that he has it now. Yeah,
I was focused on Hulk. But...
So if he goes see that sleeping soldier, he will have almost everything. Oh, Mary had it. Oh, thank you, Shadi. So Mary had the soul armor.
Marie had it. So yeah, that's gonna be an easy find for the Hulkster as well. But now, yep, he's going to the happiest place on Earth, LostC0re, going into Right Tower.
And now we have a Benjinator happy.
Yeah, we'll see if I'm just hoping for a grandma or something. Oh, there's Dr. Leo. So.
Dr. Leo. Wow, is this even randomized?
Yeah, that's the most vanilla thing that we've seen here. That's pretty close to where you actually find Dr. Leo in the original game.
This and the mushroom shoes in the blue jewel in the mountain.
Yeah, that was pretty nuts. So interesting choice he's making, going right tower before basement, which makes sense though, because right tower is not long. It takes very little time to get through it. Yeah, it's also a good idea too when you have level 6 access to kind of, you'll be able to kill a lot of enemies, which is always nice to get that EXP, because we're seeing that I mean at level 20 LostC0re is gonna be able to swing the Spirit Blade, which helps. So the only thing that really has to worry about now is getting to level 24, so that way he can swing the Soul Blade, which is everybody's second most favorite sword, which is the recovery sword, my personal favorite.
And Dr. Leo. And the Hulk finding the soul armor as well.
Yep. So soul armor in a pretty easy spot.
Yep.
And I believe, yeah. So Magritte is essentially the only. Well, there should be. There still is a few more releases that are required because once again, we are unfortunately grandma-less, but also there's paths to the king that I don't think have been open yet. But LostC0re finding the goat's food, which at this point is completely useless because he's got 3 items that the goat could possibly give a hint to where it is.
Yep.
So you guys, if you guys are not familiar with the randomizer, one of the alterations that the Hulk did make was that the goat in the first world that requires the goat food can give you a hint of one of the 3 equipable items, so he can tell you where either the Soul Blade, the Soul Armor, or the Phoenix is. And every once in a while, the goat will have information about where an item that you don't have, but just in terms of probability, it's usually an item that you've already got.
And as I was saying, LostC0re, it just released the door that actually gives you the ability to see the Model Town enemies.
Yeah, so that there's a series of doors that are useful in Random Blazer, and that one will give you a little circular flashlight thingy that will show you where the hidden monsters are. So I still find it helpful at times.
And so far, our players have done the exact same routes.
Yeah, there's yeah, they're pretty much going. Yeah, in World 6, they both opted for tower first, which I think is a pretty strong play, just because
And for those of you
it
who
also
think
opens up the area.
that LostC0re is in advance because he found the Soul Blade. The Soul Blade is behind the little boy standing that you have to give him a pass in Act 1. So as soon as the Hulk is going back into Act 1, he's gonna pretty much be at the same... although he's still missing a stone that I don't remember where LostC0re had this one.
Oh, so that core that's the stone in the second Leo's basement. So Hulk has not been there yet.
Oh yeah, it's true.
So it's that's really the only major difference there. But yeah, Hulk should be able to find the Soul Blade once he goes item hunting, and that was sad because I just realized that for the most part, the tower has been pretty useless. But who knows? Dr. Leo could have an item.
So LostC0re going in the little bird's dream to get to the grave of Dr. Leo.
Yeah, it's probably just item hunting to see if you can't find.
And as you can see, the script was shortened. Bless you, the Hulk, for doing this.
Yeah.
Turbo the dog now just saying, peace, guys.
Peace, guys, yeah, instead of doing a long speech.
Turbo has to hurry also because he has to leave this game to go to Illusion of Gaia. Because he's also the dog on Diamond Coast Mine. Diamond Coast.
Oh, that's right. So what LostC0re I think he's doing is that he is looking for that last stone to hopefully... I think he's trying...
We lost you, Benjanator.
Oh, I was just saying that I think what LostC0re is doing is he's looking for that last stone to see if he can make a World of Evil play, which I was saying, as you found out, Queenie, you can go to earlier.
Yep.
Because doing a World of Evil play, which LostC0re would have access to, he would as long as you can get as long as you have King McGrade and you can talk to him, you can you're not gonna be able to actually get in there without all the stones.
Yep, and we lost you again, Benjanator. We lost the end of your sentence.
My PC was rebelling when I was trying to play, and now it's rebelling when I'm trying to commentate.
And so, yes, LostC0re is doing an item rush. It's going in what we call the Hype Cave because it contains 3 items.
Yeah, so there's Hype Cave and Hype Reef.
And it was useless.
That was about one of the worst Hype Caves I've seen, so...
And now this time is LostC0re that can say disappointment strikes my heart.
Yeah.
Oh, and he found the light arrow, which in my
arrow.
opinion is the best magic you can find in this game.
Oh yeah.
Is he going to steal Lisa, you think?
Yeah, I think he might be doing the Lisa check, which could be really good, or... Nope, never mind. He's I think he's going to continue to look for items just to see if he can find that last stone.
And Stormy Galaxy in chat, Hill wishing our racers, saying that the grandma will be held by the Demon Bird, which is the boss of Act 6.
Oh no. That's the only thing that's worse than a pedestal seed.
So LostC0re doing his item rush in Act 3.
Yeah, it looks like Hulk's doing the same thing. They have very similar strategies at the moment.
Oh, let's go, the Hulk, find the Soul Blade.
Do it.
Do
Talk to Francis.
Go see Francis.
Up in LostC0re checking the armoire.
Oh my god. He must be so bad. I don't know if they have the blue jewel. Did they find it? Yeah.
Yeah, so the for the moment the goat's food was useful for the Hulk.
So the only stone that we know that the Hulk is missing is found in the second basement of Leo's laboratory in Act 5.
Mm-hmm. So that's really the only major
Yeah, in
difference
the
there.
treasure
But
shed.
yeah, so as probably expected, LostC0re now going for the World 6 Magrid basement, which is full of goodies, almost always.
Yep. The Hulk also is doing an item rush.
It's like they're the same person.
But so far they're still both missing their poor grandmas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're still leading a grandma-less existence in the state. It's tragic indeed.
I didn't see what the little boy was offering.
Oh, he was we got the last stone. In the first chest in Magrid basement, but no, the little kid was just offering some medicinal supplement, some herb. Yeah.
And yes, and LostC0re almost have all of his items.
Yeah, so he's got the items, but he's got.
We know that the red hot mirror is held by the soldier that is sleeping in the Act 6.
Yeah, so he knows where the item is. He's continuing through the basement to just get he's full on grandma hunting right now.
And good morning to Skarnicus that just came in chat, or good afternoon, I should say.
Yep. Good afternoon. Yeah. He's done a lot, especially with modding in the Randomizer community. So
Yep.
just more people that have done good things for this game.
Yeah, so basically, as Neta is pointed out, we are grandma hunting right now.
Yep. Or as he says, grandma haunting. He's looking for ghost grandmas, I guess.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's true. I didn't even notice. Hunting, not haunting.
Yep.
And all going into Leno.
Yep. Yeah, Hulk going into
Oh.
Loon, so this could be
The Lunian, I'm sorry. And we know it's a waste of time. It breaks my
look,
heart.
they're both terrible places that are usually a waste of time and have whiz ropes.
Oh,
the
unless
two
he
bad
finds
places.
the grandma.
Yep.
There's still hope it wasn't a waste of time.
Yeah, there could very well be a grandma here. We'll have to see. Because we don't need any more items. Or we know where all the items are, I should say. So it's all just about releases at this point.
Stormy's still wishing that the grandma will be held by the evil bird of Act 6.
Yeah, exactly. But see, LostC0re is at a really good advantage because he can pretty much. Oh, there's one. We found a grandma.
Oh, we found a grandma! Yay!
Because he knows that he doesn't have to look for items anymore, so he can just do the He can basically just skip layers that just have well, actually, he knows just items, so he can just focus on that.
And we lost Benjamin again.
Oh.
We lost the end of what you were saying.
Yeah, it wasn't important.
Yes, Neta, error 404. But it's fortunate that Hulk is going right now in Loon because he has his favorite magic. So it's gonna be a walk in the park, like we say.
Yeah, it's Light Arrow is the Whiz Robe Exterminator, as it were.
Pourquoi il ouvre ces putains de coffres?
And he manages that magic very well, like you said, the nuclear bomb.
Yeah, it's it's a nuclear bomb when he has Fireball, but I guess like Light Arrow, it's like 7 nuclear bombs. It's even more deadly.
And so LostC0re finding the recovery sword, which at this point is no more use.
Yeah, it's recovery sword at this point is not super useful. Although like if you're heading towards the end and you want to preserve as much HP as possible, it's good to have. But considering that both these players got the super bracelet pretty early on, defeating Death Toll is not going to be even remotely difficult. Yeah, Netta. This is like the third time that the Sleeping Soldier has had something needed in this tournament. It's kind of crazy.
I wonder if they remember.
Yeah, it's it might just be force of habit. Maybe he's just opening chests because he's afraid that he might not have something, or it could just be looking for the platinum card. It's possible because we don't have all of Leo's stuff. He can't skip that logic and go straight to left tower. So that could be it.
And the Og's still missing 2 stones, so he might be looking for those stones also.
Yeah. Well, he's we'll see when he decides to go to Leo's basement. But the other stone is in Magride's castle.
Yep.
So I'm not sure if Loon has actually paid off yet, or if Loon's just a complete waste of time.
Yeah, so far, not interesting. And the Ogg just fight the boss, which for those of you who weren't there yesterday, it's a grandma! Wow!
Oh.
The boss holding a grandma. Oh, that's
so
good. Oh my god.
So basically,
go ahead.
Yeah, no, LostC0re. We'll see.
For those of you who don't know, in the Japanese version, this boss was actually a woman with naked breasts, so they decided that in the US version it would be replaced with a man.
Yeah, because we're a bunch of prudes in America, they decided to that'd just be too provocative, I guess.
Prudish American.
Well, it's like there were a lot of JRPGs at the time that anytime they had like a reference to alcohol or booze, they would release a cider. So yeah, it looks like he's going to be in go mode soon. So it's really just going to be a matter of finding when Leo's basement.
Yep.
He just needs to do some basementing.
Yeah, he has 2 basements to do, so I think LostC0re is a little bit in advance at this point.
Yeah, he essentially once he finds that last grandma, he can just leave.
Yep.
Although I don't actually, it's possible that the pathway to the king is not totally open, so it might not be go mode quite yet.
Well, they do have the grandpa with the woods, and they have the little boys.
They got the wood.
Yeah, I think it is open.
Okay, yeah. I didn't want to call it yet because that was a mistake I made in the word.
Okay, well, I'll take the blame. I'm calling it.
Yeah.
It will be on me.
Well, it was Name Faker. We were just wondering what he was doing, me and Kmart, but it was like, oh, he was looking to complete the path. I see.
And so, all going into the basement, which we know is required.
Mm-hmm. And Stormy offering a much more accurate and much more accurate explanation as to Nintendo America and the censors. It was it was more than just British Americans. There was a lot of regulatory stuff.
I was teasing earlier.
Oh, I was too. I was having fun making fun of my own country, so.
Oh, that's good to know, Stormy Galaxy. I didn't know that. Castlevania statue were covered up in the American version.
That's right, Stormy. LOL America. Yeah, so
And the
LostC0re
Altus
gonna be
round is 5th stone.
5th stone, but how long it's gonna be for him to find the other one.
Yeah, he still has to go find the grandma.
So once Core finds it, he should be on his way, and I think it's one of the last layers here. But
And I'm very disappointed that we won't see Ghost Ship.
well, we still might, because the last statue is here, and Hulk might decide to go to Chungus Land. We'll have to see. There's still hope, but there's still hope.
A slight hope. And here is LostC0re's second grandma.
So yeah, he's all set.
gonna
He's
go
in
make
go
them- yeah.
mode.
He's gonna make them dance. Dancing grandmas.
Yep. Oh, Chungus released. I didn't see that, but Hulk did release Chungus. So there's still a possibility. There's still a possibility we're going to be seeing Queenie's favorite place.
And LostC0re taking a death here to go faster.
Yeah, and Solar Cell, let's not forget that we also got Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. Near.
And yeah, the way was open, so I called it. Yay!
Yeah. Perfect.
And again, thank you, Hulk, for shortening this text here. Just saying now, dancing
Yeah.
grandma time.
So, Julian, Hulk is missing the last stone, which is in Dr. Leo's basement, and the thing is he's got a lot of other options, so it's kind of a mystery as to when he's gonna go for that.
And this is it. He's in go mode.
Yep. Possibility of a sub 2, but that's gonna be a tight. That's gonna be a tight run. He's got.
Oh my
he's got
god,
less
yeah.
than 4 minutes. Go.
And Hulk finding his second grandma.
Yeah, he was gonna find the second grandma, but the stone is. I don't
It's in
know.
Leo's basement.
Yep.
Ready for the final? Yes, we are.
This is one of the few times where that's actually an accurate message. Because half the time you come here and you still have like 7 items left, and it's just like we're not going to be going to the finale yet. Stop teasing me, Seed.
So, vote in chat. Do you think he has time to make sub 2 hour? Still 3 minutes left.
And unfortunately, I don't think he's going to make it, but
Nah,
maybe
me
sub 203.
I call sub 202.
Ooh, there we go.
Just
I
to
think you
mess
might win
with
that
you.
bet. Sub
evil.
201.45.
I am Neta's pupil. I'm evil.
Well, then, just as long as you're not rolling seeds. I've already had my tenure as bad seed roller, so.
Oh, but I just noticed that he's not even at level 24 so far. And to be able to swing the Soul Blade, you actually need to be at level 24. So he's still missing 1 level, which is
Yeah, that might make
thousand.
sub 202 a little bit more difficult.
And he's going here for a strat that makes you win. Oh no, he's not. Because those little wall here gives you very much experience.
Yeah, you can kind of.
You can grind there, but he's not going for that strat.
Yeah, it's probably just calculated that wasn't necessary, but yeah, it's a good strat to have if you're trying to get to level 24. Is to just teleport back and forth. Mm-hmm. And so this should be a breeze for LostC0re, just because, you know, he's got skills, but also he's got super bracelet. So yada yada yada, he did.
And here he's not taking the Phoenix yet because you try to avoid the Phoenix as much as you can in the battle because it gives you lag. And this is why also he's crab walking to kill the blue flames, because otherwise the Phoenix gives you more lag in your game.
Yeah, it's
This boss is pretty easy in my opinion. You just have to avoid his flame. You cannot avoid really the lasers, but you can avoid easily the blue flames and the orange flames. It takes about 60 shots for him to die, which is around 12 or 13 cycle. A pretty easy boss. If you have the super bracelet as well, which they both have, it makes this fight very easy.
yeah. So it's it's pretty straightforward. Probably one of the easiest parts of the run is actually dealing with death toll, and unless of course you don't have any bracelets at all, then it's a little bit more difficult.
So this is an important part now. We'll see if what the Hulk is doing. Is he going back to the basement after he gets the mirror? We'll see what he's gonna do. If he decides to go somewhere he didn't go, he might lose. Like, I don't know if they have Model Town too, but he might lose a lot of time. And this is it, 2 hour. Oh, I called it.
Yep. Sub
GG,
202.
Congratulations, our winner this year, LostC0re, with a time of 2 hour 27 seconds.
Yeah, the king has been dethroned, as it were. So,
so we will see if we can have LostC0re with us in the vocal. I'm gonna ask him. Oh, and here he is.
Yep. GG.
GG, LostC0re. Congratulations. Oh, sorry, he's muted.
Yeah, he's muted, but hopefully we'll be hearing him from just a little bit.
Thank you. Sorry, I didn't even notice I was muted.
No worries.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Our winner this year, and how do you feel about your victory?
I feel really good. I didn't get the extra credit from sub 2, but I still won, so I'm happy.
Yeah, it was
What a seed. Hey, finding the mushroom shoes at the base of it. Oh my god, I was laughing so much.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, but
the boss fight having the second grandma also.
Yeah, it kind of seems like every
I realized after I skipped those first 2 items in the basement that I wasn't actually in item go mode. I didn't have the platinum card, and I was actually really scared the platinum card was in one of those 2 items and that the grandma would be there. So I was happy that the boss had it.
Yeah, it was also too kind of a lucky thing that we saw, because it looks like at the moment Hulk is, well, actually he's about to get that last stone, but that was kind of a good move, I think, to go to the second basement early, because I think that put you in a pretty good, really advantageous position.
And you both are so amazingly similar in skill. I think for the first half an hour, we couldn't tell who was gonna win.
Yeah, definitely. Like me and Hulk are definitely by a long shot the two best players of this game and this rando. So it was definitely. I feel like even with two less runners in the final, probably a good show.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it definitely was. It was you guys were kind of pushing and tugging for a while, so it was oftentimes kind of hard to tell exactly who was ahead, but it made for I think it made for a good match. I mean, you guys also had very kind of similar strategies too, like pretty much going from going from Rockbird to Durian and so forth, which I mean makes the most sense. It's very optimal, but it was kind of it was fun to see you guys have a lot of overlap there as well.
How do you feel about this seed?
It was really interesting. We had the mirror in for the sleeping soldier, and he didn't show up until like the very end.
Yes. I was afraid you guys might have forgot that the mirror was held by the sleeping soldier for a while.
Yeah.
GG LostC0re.
Funny thing that. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for the GG. But yeah.
Your choice on Act 1 to die before activating the mill. From this point, you went the first for all the seed long. So it was a really good choice. Because Hulk did the first part before activating the mill, and he loses about 10 seconds.
Yeah, that was the idea behind that. I could skip that one layer. I wouldn't be able to do Lisa later on, which it's the last place you check anyways. So you always hope she has nothing. I figured I'll just take the time save from skipping the layer.
And we have to tell to the people doing a seed in 2 hours is a really good time, and the seed was very bad. So it was very good practice from our two players, because it's really difficult to do a seed in about 2 hours.
And mostly because almost every zone was required in the seed.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing we didn't see is the left tower and the other model town.
And finally, someone won against the Hulk. It happens finally.
Yeah, Ned is thrilled.
Do you think you'll be in the race next year?
Oh, of course.
Good, good.
This is my favorite randomizer, long shot.
Yeah, mine as well. And you'll have to defend your title against Hulk. He'll probably be out for blood.
Yeah. So as we speak, the Hulk is fighting Death All, so he should soon be over too.
He'll hopefully be able to get in here and speak with us as well.
Yes.
Might be a little bit sad panda, but you know.
Again, I'm taking this opportunity to invite everyone that wants to try this rando. I'm gonna put the link for our Discord in chat, as well as the link to try the rando. Feel free to join. We're always happy to have some new people with us, and we will have another tournament next year.
Yeah, please join, and if you enjoy the randomizer, you can play with us. There's kind of a gap of time where there wasn't a whole lot of races going on, but you know we do have casual races. There's people to practice with, and you know we're happy to answer any questions you have about the randomizer, because it can be it's not the most intuitive thing for new players, but it can be a good time. And also Hulk just finished. GG.
GG to Hulk with a time of 2 hours, 6 minutes, and 50 seconds.
Yeah, still really impressive. 2 hours and 6 minutes for, as Netta was saying, for the seed is incredible. So
we'll see if we can have him in chat with us.
Yeah.
During this waiting is the time for singing something, Ben.
Oh yes, the song of my people. GG La Hulk.
GG.
And we have the Hulk with us coming in. Congratulations on this race. Wow.
GG.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's been
So
a lot of fun.
we have decided that we officially banned Neta from rolling the seed.
To be honest, this was such a nice beginning. Early light armor is boss.
Yes.
You just can't beat that.
When you missed the soul blade on the little boy, I was like, no, get back in Act 1.
I don't remember if I had the pass the first time around. But then I got the clue of where the soul blade was, and it was just where I was about to go. It was pretty.
Yeah. We noticed that. We were just like, oh, he's going to use the food to figure out something that's just a couple of steps north.
Yeah, exactly. That was really hilarious.
I remember getting annoyed by that personally because I cleared out all of World 1, all the items, head back to World 2, get the pass from the tree, and I'm like, okay, I guess I'm heading back to World 1 again just to check those.
They paid out.
Yeah, big time.
It did. I was hoping for magic, I think, more than Soul Blade, but I took it.
Yeah, you guys were using magic flare for most of the run, weren't you? Like the first half or so?
Yeah,
magic flare is actually a pretty effective magic. You know how to use it.
Oh yeah,
it's
yeah,
my
definitely.
And it's one of the best. I used to believe it was one of the worst, but it's actually one of the best. It's just very powerful and controllable.
Yeah, I personally found it funny that even though like last race we had was a pedestal seed with bluestone at the emblems, and this time it was fireball. We thought that was pretty funny too.
Yes.
There's like, oh, Hulk must be a little sad.
And it's kind of rare that you have to fight a boss that gives you something really useful. So when you fought that boss, I was like, oh my god, it's the grandma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think Loon had anything else. Loon was a complete bust except for that one grandma.
Yeah, it was just the one grandma.
That's
We were kind of sitting there being like, oh, if Loon is a bust, this is not going to be good.
Yeah, so I suppose you did it early then. I did the power plant early, so I ended up doing everything past the stone and skipped everything past Poseidon in Loon instead.
Yeah,
Okay.
you guys were fairly close most of the time. They were just it would be kind of like one of you guys would go to one place, and then immediately after you'd be pretty much switching. So there was a lot of overlap pretty consistently. It was just
To be honest, my clue of where the last stone was gonna be, it was that LostC0re finished so quickly. And then I knew that there's no way that the last stone is in a very far away place. It has to be some place that I've skipped, and that's where it was. I always skipped the power plant, and here I shouldn't have, because without that, I would have gone to the underwater cave, and I would have done the ghost ship area because it was opened, and I would have pushed the power plant for last, right before Lisa.
Yeah, which made Queenie a little bit sad because she was hoping to see the ghost ship.
Ghost ship is my favorite.
Yeah. I was about to go there, and when I saw LostC0re is finished, I thought about it, and I was sure that the power plant had something. It had the last stone for sure.
That was a good read. That was good metagaming.
So again, thank you very much to all our racers this weekend. Give them a follow. We have Amazing Toaster, LostC0re, Kugonschnap, Vevictus, Le Hulk, The Benjinator, SpeedRun 007, Name Faken, Jinsatsu, and Queenan B. Thank you everyone for racing this weekend.
Thank you very much for shout outs to Neta for organizing this.
Yes,
and shout outs to all the runners.
Big thank you for Netanonima, who also plays this rando and hosted and prepared all the tournament this weekend. Thank you very much. Thank you for Mirapoix and Y, who hosted and managed the stream all weekend. Benjinator, thank you for commenting with.
Yeah, and thank you, Queen, and thanks everybody else who tuned in to watch this, because it's good to see that we're starting to get some traction with this randomizer, and thank you, the Hulk, for making this thing in the first place.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yes, a big shout out to Hulk for making this incredible rando of Soul Blazer, and thank you for shortening the text. I think I said it 3 times. Thanks also for Super Big Kmart, who helped us this weekend, and Stormy Galaxy, who was also commenting yesterday. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks you guys.
And thank you, SpeedGaming French, for having us this weekend. I hope you all enjoyed this tournament. We had lots of fun. Unfortunately, major issues with PCs, but that was
yeah, just a little.
nothing we could do about it. Not no one's fault, but thank you, and see you next year. Again, I'm gonna put the chat. I'm gonna put the link in chat for our Discord. Please join us if you want to try this. We're always happy to have some new friends to play with. We have casual friend race in the weekends, and next year we'll have our next year tournament. And I'm gonna put also the link to try the rando.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. Peace.
Yeah. All right. GG's, everybody. Thanks for commentating. And thanks for watching, guys.
Thank you.